people what it was like. And a couple of years after I got there, I was sexually abused by a bigger boy. And I talk about that. And so I have bad memories of those years. It was really tough, and suffer from sadness, and so the depression, so forth, that I experienced later in my life, I think were a result of those really traumatic early years of my life. And I often tell people, how would you like to send your child who is 5 or 6, or your grandchild, and away, put in a convent, not in a normal home, but in a convent? It's like an institution, and not seeing him or her for 6 years. Can anybody in Canada tolerate that today? You know, but that's what we as Aboriginal people had to contend with. That was the system in place by the church, by the sisters, and supported by the government. And so when you talk, you hear about residential school, it's real. It had a real negative impact on people. And I suffer from depression to this day. And there are days when I have a hard time coping with life. And there are many times in my life when I considered and said, you know, life is the shits. Life is terrible. Is this what God made us for? And I told Karen I would never hurt myself, but there are times when you think it would be much better in the next world than in this world, you know? And I had to bring things down to God, the Creator, is stronger than evil, and sunshine is stronger than darkness. I had to come down to that level and kind of just rationalize and make my way out of the deep, dark area that I was in at times.
During that time, did you have an opportunity to talk to anybody? Did you have a conversation? I know you said you were 5, then you were 6 years there. 8, 9, 10, did you have little private conversations with a buddy to say, are you feeling the same way I'm feeling, or it's just about accepting this isolation that you felt?
See, as a child, you're just a baby, you're just a child, and you don't think of sharing. I had a little friend, but you don't share. And like I said, when I experienced the sexual assault, you don't even know what's happening. You don't even know whether it's wrong in a sense, except that it hurt, and it was cold. It was happening in the wintertime on a rabbit snare line, and so you don't even you think of telling anybody. You don't tell a sister. You don't tell anybody. You know, because if you did, then you would get beat up. The ramifications are even worse in a sense. So, and you don't think like an adult. You just think as a child, right? Yeah, and you just persevere and try to survive, and that was what residential school in large measure was, just surviving.
But you have survived, and you have done so much for this country in your political work, but I'm thinking of right now of those children who did not survive. Yeah. And I'm sure some of them today are not with us. Yeah. And some are still each and every day dealing with this sort of thing. Do you stay in contact with any of those children and still think about those times?
Well, I do.
It must be tough.
Well, I do. You know, a lot of the kids that I grew up with are dead. One of the very worst experience a person can have, and some of the kids were not able to remember their language. We were forbidden to use our language, and there are some people that I know that forgot their languages because they're away. I had cousins that were in Providence for 10 years without going home, you know? And it's pretty severe. And a lot of the kids that I know have difficulty in life. Some of us that were friends, we would meet every year or so at an assembly, and we would compare things, and we would say, look, I've got everything in life. I've got a job, I've got a family, and I'm healthy, but I'm not happy. And there was something missing in our lives. and this was a time when the Aboriginal Healing Foundation came into existence. And we applied for some funding so we could gather. And I remember the very first meeting we had, the theme was, I just want to be happy. That's all I want in life. I've got everything else. But there's this lack of happiness, and there's just a tremendous sadness at all this experience from our residential school days. So it's long-lasting effect. And I can tell you that the way out of this is through a period of time when I drank, and I wasn't a very good person. I had a family, but I still drank, and I had to eventually go to AA and adult children of alcoholics, and then go to every time there was a healing workshop I would attend. And you get better in little increments, you know, little baby steps. You don't get healed in one big swoop. You get healed by, and slowly I began to recover and feel better. But it's a very long process, and at various times too. I remember when Margaret Trudeau was in a newspaper that she had her psychological difficulties, and she went to the Royal Hospital, and that now there were programs that could help, and helped her. And that encouraged me to go to the Royal. I just wanted to check in and be a patient, but the doctor said, no, you don't want to do that. He just will help you. We'll give you medicine, a little bit of counseling, and then my own spiritual life. I just was determined to be normal. And so I kind of fought my way back up out of that morass, out of that depression. And so to the point where I'm a lot happier and I beginning to feel like a normal person, like I can enjoy. A few years ago, on an occasion like this, I would have been, I've been so stressed, and I would have not slept all night. That's the way that, but with sheer guts and determination, I would have still been here. And I did this sort of thing for years and years. Just sheer guts and determination so that I could do a job and do what I had to do. So I'm able now, I can cope and handle things a lot better than
Well, through all of that, Senator, you're still a good hockey player. Chris and I played hockey together.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know why you quit. What role did your wife play in this?
My wife?
Yes, in terms.
You want me to talk about my wife?
Yes, I do, because you talk about your wife in the book.
Yeah,
And
my
I
wife
think
is
a
very
patient woman.